Lego scandal resolution is being reached by Penguin Zero. Link to the original video in the description. Let's check it out. I'm very interested in this because the Lego scandal is just one of those microcosms of like what's wrong right now, where if you were to steal $100,000 from a company, you would go to jail. But if a company steals $100,000 from you, you have to take them through this big legal court battle to try to get some of your money back. It's very strange. I'm not a big fan.
Incredible journey, not too dissimilar from Brendan Fraser taking that trip to the center of the earth. Just look at us, you and me. Look at how much we've grown. Not physically, I've already maxed prestige on height, but emotionally, we've come so far. Bonded like brothers, only closer. Through our Bricks and Minifigs Lego scandal adventure.
True.
And now, the train is reaching its station, much to the chagrin of Ammon McNeff, who's the primary clown at the center of the Bricks and
He's a fucking villain. For sure that guy's a villain.
Minifigs circus. No doubt he's soiling his diaper in a tearful tantrum over this having to be the path that they walk. There's two things Ammon hates, and it's shaving his mustache and reaching a resolution with the people that him and his company have wronged. And unfortunately, he's had to do one of the two. So they have publicly announced the resolution with the Mansell family, which is the family that started all of this, where they brought in a very valuable Lego collection and everything went tits up. And this has led to a huge avalanche that is just torpedoed Bricks and Minifigs, and all of it very avoidable. This was all...
And very deservedly, they've been torpedoed. They've been the bad guy consistently in this entire story. I will say, though, that the previous runners of the store were not the good guys either. They were definitely shady as hell and trying to take advantage of being part of the situation. They also called it a $200,000 set whenever it was a $100,000 set to try to boost sales. But to me, that's like false advertising.
Easily preventable from their side if they had just been more willing to work with the family. And then, even by extension, working with the people that were investigating it, like Reckless Ben and everything, but they refused. They dug their heels in. They kept looking like fucking idiots every step of the way. Caught in...
And dude, the internet turned against them right away. And I don't see how they didn't see that as like oh shit, maybe we should stop what we're doing, Or like, maybe we're gonna like lose our entire business if we don't cut this shit out.
Numerous lies. Ammon McNeff went on more podcasts than fucking Gary Vee. Like, he was going everywhere and just constantly embarrassing himself. So, Bricks and Minifigs' reputation circled the shitter. They've really...
He was also calling cops and, like, lying about... Like, dude, this dude deserves to have actual actual legal repercussions, because he was calling the police on, like, Reckless Ben, accusing him of having, like, heroin on him, had them raid his house saying that he had the Lego set, or the Airbnb he was staying at. Like, dog, this guy was weaponizing the police somehow.
Torpedoed the brand, and it's just been a catastrophe for them. So with their back up against the wall, dick in hand, they finally decided to do what they should have done from the very beginning, and actually reaching a resolution with the Mansell family for what happened through Bricks and Minifigs here. And I am confident this is the last thing Ammon McNeff wanted. Like, actually the very last thing. He tried everything else. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he started getting into voodoo magic, performing rituals on minifigs of Reckless Ben and Brian Mansell directly, like poking needles in there. But none of it worked. So now they finally compensated the Mansell family for all this hoopla, and they've publicly released a statement going over it, talking about their amicable resolution of a private civil dispute relating to the
How much did they pay him, though?
Mansell family's Lego Star Wars collection. The thing goes on to point the finger at the previous owners of that Oregon store as, like, the main culprit for everything that...
Which definitely, they were not good. They were definitely not good, and they were a little shady, but 100% Ammon McNeff and Matt McNeff were definitely the main bad guys of the situation. Like, but that doesn't mean that everybody else was good.
Went wrong. They kind of just run the bus over them there. This settlement agreement is a compromise of disputed claims. It's not an admission of liability, wrongdoing, or unlawful conduct by BAM.
That's a common statement inside of these
the Mancells or any other released party. Mancells confirmed they've been compensated by BAM for the losses associated with their consignment arrangement and thus are releasing all their legal claims against BAM, its leadership, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, Brandon Best, or any current Bricks and Minifigs franchisee. BAM, the McNeffs, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, and Brandon Best likewise will dismiss their lawsuits against Brian Mancell.
Too bad for them. That doesn't stop us from talking about it.
Which, that's great news because they did have Brian Mancell named in a very chunky, really spicy piece of legislation that would have just only further fuckified them, even though they are victims of this whole case here. So it's good that those have now been dismissed. Through the exchange of records and information during the legal and mediation process, parties developed a more complete understanding of what occurred. The underlying dispute arose from a consignment contract between the Mancell family and the Salem Kaiser Oregon store. BAM, Baker Salem, Josh Johnson, and
Imagine how many people they did this to who did not. They were not able to get a giant movement behind them. This probably was not the first time this happened. In fact, I'd almost guarantee it.
Brandon Best were not parties to it. The Mancell's losses arose in part from the scale, accounting, storage, and disposition of inventory by the former operator of the store. So they're really wiggling the finger at the Gormans. It's all their fault. It all stems from them. They caused all of this. Boo! Boo! And from CoffeeZilla's reporting, it does seem very clear that how they handled the inventory here on this collection was suboptimal and very weird and questionable.
Yeah.
And it did create the problems in a large capacity, but that's not the only piece that led to this being such a disaster.
It was how they responded to it afterwards. How BAM responded, or Bricks and Minifigs responded to it.
How Bricks and Minifigs handled it after that mistake.
Yes.
And to be fair, the Gormans on camera were even mentioning when they were being taken over, hey, we have this inventory, we got to make sure that he's compensated and all of that. And that just kind of fell on deaf ears. And then there was a lot, yes, they do bear a lot of responsibility for how things unfolded. That is true.
I'm glad that he's admitting to this and that more people are seeing this. But yeah, he is right that they're not the main villains.
True. They did not handle the inventory properly, and it led to a lot of confusion and a lot of things falling through the cracks. But it's not like they're the only party at blame here for what happened to this Lego Star Wars collection. Bricks and Minifigs was completely just off their fucking gourd throughout this entire case. Even outside of the Reckless Bin coverage, from everything else that had been brought up, from Mancell to the corporation and everything, it was just ridiculous off rip and very combative and aggressive from that corporation. And then they got caught in so many lies. There are so many things they lied about that there's even footage contradicting them, proving them incorrect, and then they just change their story. They're like, oh yeah, so yep, you're right. So that's not real. So here's the new story. And it's crazy. So yes.
Yeah, and it happened multiple times.
It is irrefutable that previous leadership of that store is what started this, and it wasn't handled the right way. But Bricks and Minifigs also bears a huge responsibility for how messy all of it got. I think it's a little absurd that they're going to solely put the blame on previous leadership at the store when a lot more went wrong than just that. This was something that could have been solved privately, quietly, peacefully. It never needed to blow up into some shit like this. That is entirely on Bricks and Minifigs, the corporation, the headquarters, the think tank there. That is on their shoulders. All of that financial blood is on their hands. Their reputation ate shit because of their behavior. As part of the settlement, Brian Mancell has assigned to BAM his claims under the original consignment contract. BAM may elect to pursue these claims against those responsible. The Mancells have agreed to provide relevant records in support of BAM's claims. The parties believe this places responsibility for remedying any remaining fault with the appropriate parties. BAM recognizes that the Mancell family experienced a genuine loss, prolonged uncertainty, and considerable frustration after the original contract was not properly administered by the former operator of the store and during the transition from the former operator to the replacement franchisees. I like how they're like, oh, this must have been so frustrating for them. It was so drawn out and uncertain. That's on you guys.
Yeah.
It's not like that was a Mancell family that was deciding to fucking, leave this out to dry. That was entirely on you. And it's like, man, I must have been frustrating for them, huh? And then, of course, they're like, yep, it wasn't properly administered from previous owners to the replacements, even though, again, it is on camera, her alerting them to this consignment, like, and what is there, and it just never got taken care of or addressed or anything. Bam regrets that it did not more quickly access information necessary to understand and resolve the matter.
Sure.
Bam has issued an unqualified apology to the Mansell family for the
They only regret it because they got caught.
losses and pain suffered from the events surrounding this dispute. The parties recognize that many Bricks and Minifigs franchises and employees had no involvement with events surrounding this dispute and hope that this resolution brings closure to everyone affected and all may return to their normal business activities and personal lives.
I hope that nobody shops at Bricks and Minifigs ever again. I really believe that company deserves to go out of business. I think that the McNeffs are actual villains, like cartoon villains who use the police to do their dirty work. I also think the police in that state, wherever that is, that city, should definitely be investigated for corruption. There's a huge problem.
Yeah, Bricks and Minifigs is desperately hoping that this is something that can just blow over and they all just move on from and people continue to do business with Bricks and Minifigs. I still wouldn't. Like, yeah, they eventually did this. So many months later. It took so long, like pulling teeth, such a painful, drawn out, and terrifying experience for the Mansell family. Keep in mind, Bricks and Minifigs had them on the fucking meat hooks. They had them dangling by beef curtains there. They had them named in a lawsuit, all just because they were victims of Bricks and Minifigs fucking them. So, like, that's entirely on Bricks and Minifigs, and that showcases that the company is not very trustworthy. So if you are someone that wants to do business with Bricks and Minifigs and you have a problem, you best start praying for a miracle.
Yeah.
Because now
You better start hitting up YouTubers.
you've got a huge issue. Bricks and Minifigs won't help you. You're shit out of luck. And not only will they not help you, they'll even be like a fucking obstacle. They'll be your worst enemy, even if you are the victim of something that has gone wrong in their pipeline. That is not a brand that I would ever feel comfortable doing business with.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, they have finally done the right thing here with compensating the Mansell
But only when forced to, and extremely forced to. Like, the entire internet had to come out in full force against them.
family, but they've only done it after a nationwide mainstream coverage for over 2 months now of everyone shining the spotlight on this, everyone talking about it, and now at the very end they've decided to do what they should have done from the very beginning if this was a company of integrity. So, like, it doesn't instill confidence in this brand, at least not in my eyes, and I hope people won't just be blinded by that, like, oh, look, see, they finally did it, so now everything's good. It's still inexcusable the way they've behaved publicly and what they've tried to do to, like, the Mansell family, like, in that lawsuit. Like, it's
not only the Mansell family, but also Reckless Ben. Don't forget that they've been sending people after the YouTuber who exposed all this relentlessly. They've taken him to court. They're trying to get him arrested for made-up bullshit. Like, these are villains.
Ridiculous. The family was the one that was wronged, and yet they were still further victimized directly by Bricks and Minifigs attacking them personally and publicly. Keep in mind, they would come out publicly and besmirch them.
I wish he would bring up Reckless Ben, but he's on a one-track mind real quick, which I can appreciate.
Company would. Like, it's ridiculous. So I don't think it actually salvages Bricks and Minifigs' reputation, but it is nice that at least the Mansell family is finally getting compensation for what happened to them. It shouldn't have been this difficult. It really shouldn't have been. Now, while this chapter in the book has been closed, there are still others that are open, like the Gorman's lawsuit against Bricks and Minifigs. That one is still ongoing and seemingly unaffected by this settlement here.
Yeah, and the Gormans thought they were going to insert themselves into this controversy and everybody were going to take their sides too, which I think is funny that they thought that. But we only ever cared about the Mansells. That's it. Nobody cared, and Reckless Ben. Nobody cared about the Gormans, dude, at all.
Here. So I guess we'll see what else continues to happen. Of course, there's still a lot more going on with Bricks and Minifigs, but this is at least a nice tidbit of resolution where the Mansell family is receiving compensation now. I'm
Yeah.
very curious what's going to happen next in the Bricks and Minifigs saga here because, like I said, we are in the end game. Like, things are really accelerating now.
True. I do really wish that they would tell us what or how much they got, you know. I'm very interested. I know that they probably have that a secret and they're not allowed to say it, but gosh, I'm curious.
So I guess we'll see. But anyway, just wanted to give you the little update here. That's really about it. So, yeah.
That was a good video. You know, I gotta say, I am turning around on Moist Critical. Now that he's like kind of he's in a way he's taken himself less seriously than he was for a little bit, which is cool. But he's also willing to actually not just be monotone the whole time, which is pretty nice too. This time he was a little more monotone, but he still had some more active moments. I don't know. I think that Moist Critical is probably a little more genuine than people give him credit for, honestly.